Welcome back to Xcoins Hub. Have you ever held something so small in your hand that you didn't realize it could change your life forever? Imagine rummaging through an old drawer, a box of forgotten coins from your grandparents' time, dusty, ordinary, and dull. But hidden among them lies a tiny silver-colored coin, one that millions walked past, spent, and never noticed. Yet this one could make you over $100,000 richer today. This is not a myth. This is the story of the 1948 Liberty 5-cent coin, one of America's most fascinating treasures hidden in plain sight. Back in the late 1940s, America was recovering from the scars of World War II. Factories that once built weapons were now producing cars, radios, and the promise of a new life. And in the middle of this rebirth, the U.S. Mint quietly continued its duty, producing everyday change for a growing nation. Among the coins that passed through countless hands was the humble nickel, small, practical, and often ignored. But the 1948 Liberty 5 cent wasn't just another nickel. It carried with it a history, a flaw, and a secret that would one day turn it into one of the most sought-after coins in American history. Each Liberty 5 cent coin bore the face of Thomas Jefferson, framed by the words, "In God We Trust" and "Liberty 1948. On its reverse side stood Monticello, Jefferson's grand home, a symbol of architecture and intellect. The design wasn't new, but what made the 1948 issue special was subtle, almost invisible to the naked eye. Some were struck differently. A few came out with a faint misalignment, a minute variation in the minting pressure, or even a barely noticeable die crack near Jefferson's cheek. Most people never saw it, but collectors, they did. And that changed everything. Minted in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, these coins were part of the post-war minting boom. Yet among the millions, only a handful possessed that unique microscopic difference that made them legendary today. Picture this: a factory floor in 1948, a tired worker inspecting stacks of shining nickels, unaware that a tiny imperfection on one die had just created what would later be worth a fortune. That small oversight, that single human moment, transformed an everyday coin into a collector's dream 7 decades later. For years, the 1948 nickel lived in pockets, passed between storekeepers and schoolchildren, carried through gas stations and diners, and stored in coffee cans. It bought candy, newspapers, and maybe even the first TV show snacks of the American living room era. Its metal surface absorbed fingerprints, sweat, and history itself. And somewhere out there, one coin survived, untouched, unspent, nearly flawless. Collectors say that finding one of these coins in perfect condition feels like uncovering a message from another time. The luster, the way the light dances across Jefferson's cheek, the sharpness of each engraved letter, it all tells a story of craftsmanship and survival. Some of these coins were tucked away by veterans returning home, saved as tokens of their youth. Others were stored unknowingly in coin jars by families who simply never got around to spending them. Over the decades, the nickel lost its charm to newer designs and shinier materials. But numismatists, coin historians, never forgot. They studied the patterns, the strike quality, the faint mint marks. The San Francisco mint pieces with their tiny S were especially rare in pristine condition. For years, people whispered about the one coin still out there, perfectly preserved, untouched since 1948, hiding in someone's attic or old collection. Fast forward to the present. In a world where digital money rules, the idea of a physical coin holding life-changing value feels surreal. Yet collectors continue to hunt. At coin fairs, online marketplaces, and estate sales, whispers about the 1948 Liberty nickel still spark curiosity. People hold magnifying glasses up to dull coins, hoping they've stumbled upon the legendary one. What makes it worth so much today isn't just rarity, it's the story, the survival, and the human connection to an era that's long gone. The 1948 Liberty 5 cent coin represents a bridge between two worlds, the post-war optimism of the past and the collector's passion of today. It's proof that value doesn't always come from size or shine, it comes from history and detail. Imagine this. Someone once paid for a newspaper with it, another dropped it in a payphone, and now that same design, that same 5-cent piece, could be sitting in your old coin jar, worth more than some cars today. The difference lies in condition, mint mark, and a few details invisible to the casual eye but priceless to an expert. People often ask, could I have one? The truth? You might. thousands of Americans still hold on to inherited jars, unaware of what's inside. One careful look could be all it takes to find something extraordinary. Because among all those nickels, if yours happens to be the rare Liberty 1948 in near-perfect mint state, you're holding a fortune no one ever expected. So next time you come across an old coin, don't toss it aside. Examine it. Feel the weight of history in your palm. Remember, every coin has a story, and some stories are worth more than you can imagine. And as for that little silver coin from 1948, the one born in an era of hope, nearly forgotten in drawers and purses, it stands today not just as a relic of history, but as a testament to time, luck, and the power of small things. Because that humble 5-cent Liberty coin, if perfectly preserved, now carries a value that will leave you speechless. $108,000. Yes, that same coin, once used to buy a cup of coffee, could now buy you a luxury car, or even change your future. It's proof that sometimes the smallest treasures are the ones we least expect. So before you walk away from that old coin collection, remember, history has a funny way of hiding its fortune in plain sight. And the 1948 Liberty 5-cent is living proof of that. It's strange, isn't it? How something as simple as a coin can travel through generations, carrying silent memories along the way. Think about it. How many hands did one 1948 nickel pass through before ending up forgotten in a dusty attic box? Maybe it once jingled in the pocket of a man who had just returned home from war. Maybe it helped a young boy buy his first ice cream on a sunny afternoon. Every scratch, every dull edge, every faded mark, it all tells a piece of someone's story. And yet for decades, nobody noticed the secret one of those coins carried. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't gold or encrusted with jewels. It was ordinary to everyone who touched it. Until collectors began to realize just how extraordinary that ordinary could be. When experts started studying the 1948 nickels, they found something fascinating. Certain coins had sharper details. Jefferson's hairline more defined, Monticello's columns clearer, the steps perfectly visible. These subtle details, nearly invisible to the naked eye, became the difference between a common coin worth 5 cents and a rare treasure worth a small fortune. Coin grading became an obsession. Collectors sent their nickels to professionals who examined them under microscopes, grading them from worn to mint-state perfection. A mint-state 67 1948 nickel was like finding lightning in a bottle, almost untouched by time, its metal still gleaming as though it had just left the press. Those few coins, sealed in protective holders, began to gain legendary status. What made them so rare wasn't just their flawless surface, it was survival. Most coins from that era were heavily used. They rubbed against other coins, fell on sidewalks, sat in humid pockets, and slowly lost their shine. But somehow a handful avoided all of that. Maybe they were tucked away as keepsakes, or maybe forgotten in drawers for decades. Whatever the reason, those few pristine survivors became symbols of rarity, beauty, and time itself. People began to whisper about them, stories spreading across collector circles, coin fairs, and even small-town antique shops. A retired man in Illinois reportedly found one while sorting through his father's old belongings. A young woman from Oregon discovered another in a jar of coins inherited from her grandfather. For each of them, it felt like striking gold. They didn't just find a coin, they found a piece of history that carried value no one could have predicted. What's even more fascinating is the emotional connection people form with these coins. They aren't just pieces of metal, they're frozen fragments of time. Each one minted during a year when America was dreaming big, rebuilding, and moving forward. The 1948 Liberty nickel reflects that spirit. The resilience, the quiet strength, the idea that even small things can hold enormous meaning. Some collectors describe holding it as touching time. The texture, the weight, it's exactly what someone felt 77 years ago. That connection across generations is what makes it more than just money. It's legacy, it's memory you can hold, and then there's the thrill of the unknown. People still search. Garage sales, estate auctions, flea markets, places filled with forgotten items and hidden treasures. Someone might be selling a jar of old change for a few dollars, unaware that one tiny coin inside could be worth tens of thousands. Every time a collector picks up a handful of old nickels, there's a spark of hope. Maybe this time, this coin, this discovery will be the one. Behind every valuable coin, there's also the story of patience. Years of searching, comparing, studying, and waiting for the right piece to appear. It's a quiet passion, shared by those who understand that history rewards those who pay attention to the smallest details. And perhaps that's the real lesson the 1948 Liberty nickel teaches us. Greatness often hides in simplicity. It reminds us that not all treasures are shiny, not all fortune comes loudly. Some just sit silently, waiting for the right eyes to see their worth. As decades passed, fewer perfect examples remained. Time and circulation took their toll. And while thousands of 1948 nickels still exist, only a few of them hold that almost magical quality, untouched, perfectly struck, frozen in time. Those are the ones that collectors guard like rare jewels. Today, when one surfaces in top condition, it doesn't just make headlines, it makes history all over again. Because every rediscovery reignites the same awe. How could something made for so little be worth so much? It's a reminder that our past isn't gone, it's just hiding quietly in drawers, jars, and forgotten boxes, waiting for the right hands, the right moment, and the right story to bring it back to life. So the next time you see an old coin, don't just see metal. See memory. See craftsmanship. See possibility. Because even now, over 7 decades later, that one humble 1948 Liberty 5-cent coin continues to surprise the world. And for those lucky enough to find one in perfect condition, that surprise becomes a reality worth remembering forever. That single coin, once worth only 5 cents, can now command a price that turns disbelief into excitement, and history into fortune. 108,000, a small circle of metal, carrying the weight of time, now carrying the price of a dream. Have you ever thought that something lying forgotten in your drawer could be worth more than a luxury car? Picture this. A simple nickel, dull and worn, a coin most people wouldn't even glance at twice. But what if I told you that one of those very same nickels, minted in 1962, could change your life forever? Because hidden among millions of ordinary coins is one that has become a legend, a 5-cent piece now valued at over $100,000. The story begins in 1962, a time when America was in the middle of transformation. The post-war boom had turned into an era of optimism. Televisions filled living rooms, cars lined the streets, and dreams felt closer than ever. And amid all that progress, the U.S. Mint continued its steady rhythm, pressing thousands of coins every minute, each stamped with the face of one of the nation's most respected figures, Thomas Jefferson. The 1962 Liberty nickel was born out of precision and purpose. On its front, Jefferson's calm and determined expression looked toward the word liberty, symbolizing strength, intellect, and unity. On the back stood Monticello, his grand home, proud and still, like a monument of American ideals. To most, it was just another coin. To historians, it was a piece of that golden American spirit, captured in metal. But as years passed, something unexpected happened. Collectors began to notice that not all 1962 nickels were the same. Subtle differences appeared. The way the light reflected off Jefferson's cheek, the depth of the word liberty, or the crispness of Monticello's steps. It was almost as if the mint had unintentionally created two versions, the common and the extraordinary. Most coins from that year were produced in Philadelphia and Denver. Millions rolled out into circulation, handed across counters, slipped into pockets, dropped into payphones. They bought coffee, newspapers, and candy bars. They lived ordinary lives serving everyday purposes. But among them were a few, just a few, that were struck so perfectly, so flawlessly, that decades later, they would become prized beyond imagination. Imagine one of those coins, kept safe in a small box by someone who didn't even know what they had. Maybe a grandfather saving coins, just in case they'd be worth something someday. Maybe a collector who tucked it away and forgot. Decades pass, and that little coin, still gleaming with its original luster, waits quietly for the moment it will finally be seen for what it truly is. Experts began studying the 1962 nickel closely. Under magnification, they found something extraordinary. A coin so perfectly struck, with edges sharp enough to reflect light like glass and surfaces free from even the tiniest scratch. These coins, graded as mint state by professionals, became treasures of their kind. For them, it wasn't just metal. It was time itself, perfectly preserved. Collectors cherish the 1962 Liberty nickel not because it's made of precious metal, it isn't, but because it carries a different kind of value. It's history molded into form. It's a reminder of a nation's journey from hardship to prosperity, from war to hope. When you hold one, you're holding a piece of that story, a moment frozen in silver gray metal, unchanged through the years. And yet, the real beauty of this coin lies in its mystery. Out of millions made, only a tiny handful have survived in near-perfect condition. Most were spent, scratched, dented, or melted down over time. Only those that somehow escaped everyday use, untouched, hidden, and preserved, carry the kind of perfection that collectors dream about. The 1962 Liberty nickel represents something more than value. It's proof that greatness can hide in the smallest things, that even something as simple as a 5-cent coin can one day be worth more than anyone imagined, if time and luck are on its side. Today, collectors still hunt for them. At coin shows, estate sales, and in old family collections, people search carefully, eyes scanning for that sharp Monticello design, that crisp Liberty, that soft reflection across Jefferson's face that marks a near-perfect strike. Every finder's heart skips a beat because it could be the one. Think about it. That tiny coin might be sitting in a jar in someone's house right now, completely forgotten, waiting to be rediscovered. Maybe it's tucked away in your drawer, your wallet, or a box you haven't opened in years. Every coin tells a story of craftsmanship, of human hands, of the time it was made. And some stories are worth more than words can describe. The 1962 Liberty 5-cent nickel carries such a story of precision, rarity, and survival through the passage of time. Because against all odds, a few of these coins have reached us in flawless condition, their shine untouched by decades, their details still as sharp as the day they were minted. They are reminders that beauty doesn't fade when it's preserved, and value doesn't always depend on what something's made of, but on how it has endured. It's incredible to think. A coin that once bought a piece of candy or a cup of coffee now holds a price tag that could buy an entire collection of cars. It's one of those hidden treasures of history that make you realize, sometimes, fortune hides in plain sight. And for those lucky enough to find one, for those who looked a little closer, who saw beyond the dull metal and recognized its perfection, that 5-cent piece changed everything. Because that same 1962 Liberty nickel, the one that was worth so little once upon a time, has now reached a value that leaves collectors stunned and treasure hunters speechless. $108,000. Yes, a coin that once slipped between fingers unnoticed now commands the value of dreams. Proof that history, patience, and luck can turn the simplest of objects into something extraordinary. So, before you walk past that old coin jar, before you ignore the nickels that have been sitting untouched for years, take a closer look. Because one of them might not just be a piece of metal. It might be your hidden treasure. So now you know that even a small, forgotten coin can carry a story worth remembering. The 1962 Liberty 5-cent nickel isn't just about metal or money, it's about history, patience, and the beauty of time itself. Somewhere out there, one might still be waiting, resting quietly in an old drawer or a forgotten jar, ready to surprise the person who finally takes a closer look. Every coin is a fragment of the past, but only a few become living legends. And this one, born in 1962, still shines today as proof that sometimes the smallest things hold the greatest worth. So the next time you pick up a coin, don't just see what it's worth, see what it survived, see what it remembers, because you never know. Your next discovery could be the one that changes everything. If you enjoyed this journey through time, don't forget to like the video, subscribe for more incredible coin stories, and share this with someone who loves hidden treasures. After all, fortune favors the curious.